Hey guys and gals, and Harry here from Drake Wing Gaming, sending me on Twitter, The Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Echo, TJ's Path. Yeah, so, Carl broke his leg, and, Chase is getting very, very possessive of TJ, but anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go. Anything out that you wanted to see? Not really. You know, I used to do this thing where I'd get a random ticket to a movie I'd never seen before. I'd never heard of before. I'd have no expectations, so usually I'd be pleasantly surprised. Oh, that sounds kind of fun, as long as it's not R-rated. Yeah, so the way I do, why don't we go to the Familyplex? I cut Julian off, looking over at TJ. The Familyplex? Yeah, you remember that place, right? We'd go there as kids for birthdays and stuff. The old rundown arcade thing at the mall? Yeah. TJ seems to perk up a bit. I haven't been there for like 10 years. That could be a lot of fun. If it's still open, I haven't been to that corner of the mall in a long time. It is. Well, alright then. So, should we go there? There's a moment of silence before TJ shifts next to me. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, God. The Familyplex is basically as I remember it. Yeah, I remember that episode where Leo broke one of the machines. Like TJ had said, a good decade had passed since we'd been here, maybe more. But the ugly stained carpet and sickly colored walls still cover the place. A real relic of the 80s and 90s. Still, I'm happy to see TJ smile as we walk in, his adorably wide eyes scanning the place as I'm sure he's hit with that same sense of nostalgia. Oh my gosh, everything is exactly the same! The look on Julian's face is slightly less enthusiastic. It even smells the same. I kinda like it, actually. It reminds me of a movie theater. Same. It's really just the popcorn and recycled air from the AC. I realize then that what a fucking stick in the mud Julian is, but I ignore him, instead following TJ as we make our way to the machines. Luckily, the place is mostly empty. There's a group of teenagers being loud and annoying over by the air hockey tables, but otherwise we have the place to ourselves. For a moment, we just stand there, then Julian reaches into his pocket. You guys want to chip in some money and I can go get us a few rolls of quarters? I take out a 5 and so does Julian, while TJ hands over a 10. Wow, Tease, that's a lot! I only have 10s. Besides, we'll go through them fast. We always do. Julian walks off to the front counter while TJ and I wait awkwardly next to the skee-ball ramp. I feel like things wouldn't be so tense if Julian wasn't here. I feel myself getting progressively annoyed by his presence. I'm about to ask TJ how he's feeling when Julian comes back with 2 rolls of quarters. So we have 2 rolls. You want me to count out your shares, or? I shake my head. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we're just here to hang out anyway. TJ takes one of the rolls and tears off one end. You guys want a skee-ball? Sure, you know, I've always been pretty good with this game. I take the opened roll of quarters from TJ and take out one of my own, inserting it into the neighboring skee-ball machine. There are only 2, and I kind of hope that Julian might just wander away, but he stays right there behind TJ, watching. I sigh and insert my coin, watching his little balls roll out into the little compartment. Meanwhile, TJ is having a terrible time. Each one of his balls rolling into the scoreless gutter. I roll my first ball and watch as it misses the 40 and rolls into the tin gutter. Aw, don't worry about it, Tej. You want me to show you how? Julian moves next to me, and I grit my teeth in annoyance, moving over a bit. The stag flicks the ball expertly down the ramp, and it lands squarely in the 40. Wow! On your first try, too! Honestly, I'm out of practice, but I usually go for the hundreds in the corner. How do you do it? Well... Julian grabs a hold of TJ's wrist, and I feel my fur starting to stand up on my neck and shoulders. It's all in the wrist. And he moves TJ's arm before bending the lynx's wrist. Oh, I see. TJ tries again, and this time gets the 10, but on his second try, he lands it on the 50. Nice! Julian holds up his paw, and TJ slaps it loudly. The stag laughs and looks over at me. You alright, Chase? You still got 4 balls. Without a word, I turn back to my machine and hook the balls down the ramp, each one landing in the gutter. Meanwhile, I listen to Julian and TJ celebrate another 50. For the rest of the night, I follow TJ and Julian around, the stag showing the cat how best to play the games. All the while, I stand next to them, dumping my quarters into games that don't even finish. I just want us to run out so we can leave. The drive back is quiet and tense. TJ and Julian asked me multiple times at the Familyplex if I was alright until I finally told them I just had a headache. That stopped their questioning for the most part, and luckily that prompted TJ to propose we just go back to the motel. I tense up again when he offers Julian to spend the night there, but luckily the stag declines, wanting to go back home to his own bed. As we drive, I notice TJ nodding off, his head bumping the glass of his window. You can lean against me, Tej. TJ's ears flushing a bit. Oh, really? I don't wanna... As an answer, I reach over to clasp the side of TJ's face before I force the lynx's head to lean sideways against my shoulder. TJ stiffens up, then he relaxes, and 5 minutes later I can tell that he's fallen into a light sleep. Julian glances over at us occasionally, but doesn't say anything. I lean my cheek against the top of TJ's head. I realize how good it feels to sort of envelop him like this. feels like I'm protecting him. All those bad, tense feelings from the arcade start to melt away. Pretty soon I start to drift off as well, the smooth drone of the highway lulling me to sleep. I open my eyes and see the back of a rusty white sedan pulled off on the side of the road. Julian's pulling off as well behind the car. The sun's already getting low in the sky, a little bit of cloud cover rolling in from the west. That's when I realize there's a large coyote standing next to the car, leaned over and looking at the front left wheel. She stands up when her headlights hit her, and she shields her eyes against the light. Janice. Julian shuts his headlights off. Looks like she's got a flat. TJ wakes up, and I'm a bit disappointed to feel him shift off my shoulder. What's going on? Julian's already hopping out of the car, walking up to the now grinning Janice as she sets her paws on her hips. Well, now, what are you doing here, Julie? I can hear her loud, obnoxious voice even with the doors closed. Janice has a flat. Want to go back to sleep until Julian's helped her? TJ shakes his head, shifting himself to open the door and hop out. I sigh as he leaves, pushing myself across the seat to jump out as well. Chase and Tobias, too? She turns her psychotic grin on us. Yeah, we were having a night out. Anyway, do you need any help? Well, you know, Julian, I actually do. I don't have my own Jack. Been missing for the past 15 years. Julian smiles back warmly. Well, I've got one. Do you have a spare? Yep, in the back. I hope it's not a flat, too. Haven't had to use that thing in a while. Well, go ahead and pop the trunk and we'll see what we got. I'll go get my Jack. Julian jogs back to the truck while TJ and I stand behind Janice's car. Sadly, this little coyote turns her attention on us. Well, how are you two doing this evening? I'm doing well, thanks. I want to thank you again for doing all that yard work during your vacation. Seems I'm always out here just needing help. Oh, it was no trouble at all, ma'am. I'm happy to let TJ do the talking, just wanting to get this all over with as soon as possible so that we can head back to the motel. I squint as Julian's headlights come back on and he hops out of his truck. Just want to give us a little more light. Janice pops the trunk and lifts it up, revealing a cluttered mess inside. She brushes it all aside and lifts up the flap, revealing an old rusty spare tire. She nudges at it, testing the air pressure before lifting it out. Well, it's a little deflated, but it should be enough to get me to Duke's house. I know he's got a few tires I can probably use. If not, I'll just get him to drive out and buy me one. Julian kneels down next to Janice's car, setting up the Jack. We stand there in silence for a bit, watching the stag as he works. Speaking of your vacation, it wasn't really a vacation for you, was it, Chase? My heart sinks a bit as the dumb Yodi turns her attention directly on me. I grunt politely in question, keeping my gaze on Julian to show Janice that I'm definitely not interested in what she has to say. Well, that grumpy lizard, Flynn was telling me about it in the diner a few days back. Something about you wanted to document the spooky stuff in town. I try to think of a way to keep things uninteresting so she doesn't ask any more questions. Sort of. Mainly I just wanted to find some information on a murder that happened like 100 years ago. Couldn't find out much. Oh, Flynn made it sound like one of those ghost documentaries that I like to watch sometimes. I had a few stories for you. I keep my eyes firmly on Julian's paws as he starts to crank the Jack. Then TJ nudges me. Hey, are there any rules against it being a ghost documentary? I sigh, though I try to keep it quiet for TJ's sake. Well, it's more of a news piece, so a ghost story wouldn't really work, I don't think. Actually, I've seen segments on the news about ghosts. I don't know if they're serious, but when someone catches something on camera, sometimes they'll play it. I shrug. Well, even if that is the case, it probably won't get me a very good grade. It's better than no grade at all. TJ smiles encouragingly at me, and I can't help but smile back. He always has a way of cheering me up, no matter how bad of a mood I'm in. That's the spirit. Besides, could just be about the history of it rather than making it seem real, even if it is real. I sigh again, though this time I don't try to cover it up. Janice either doesn't notice or doesn't care. So would you like to hear them? Yeah, let me grab my notepad real quick. I walk over to Julian's truck, listening to Janice as she babbles excitedly to TJ about how scary it is. I try to unzip the bag, but the ledge of the truck bed is too tall, so I have to grab the whole fucking thing and try to trudge it back over to the car. I unzip the side pocket and pull out my notepad and pen. Then I stand up straight and look at Janice expectantly. The coyote sits on the ledge of the trunk, making the car shift. Julian pauses, eyes wide as I'm sure he thought the sedan was about to topple off the Jack. Well, let's see. I can start with what my grandpa told me. Yeah, that works. Actually, that's great, because this happened right here in these very woods. Janice gestures off the side of the road at the trees. So my grandpa was taking a walk in there with my grandma in, I want to say, sometime in the 40s, right after they were married. They were walking along one of the little trails in there. And as they were, they started hearing this strange sound of the trees, like something sculling up and down the branches. They kept looking but couldn't see anything. TJ hugs himself and rubs his arms with his paws. Wow, that's creepy. Oh, that ain't the half of it, Tobias. The thing is they kept walking, those sounds followed them, and then... Janice lowers her voice, and despite my annoyance, I have to draw in a bit closer to hear her next words. They started to hear it talk. Hear what talk? TJ is fully drawn in by Janice's theatrics, and I have to struggle not to roll my eyes. Well, whatever it was, it started talking down to them. Janice pauses and glances at me, and I make sure not to give her anything, staring glassy-eyed at my notepad. What did it say? Well, just strange things like, you're here, and I see you. And my grandpa said he wasn't sure it was talking to them, really. He said that when it started to just laugh, that's when he and his grandma started running. Even then it followed them. He said it sounded like it was rising in the air and landing from tree to tree, following them until they got out. At this point, TJ is just frowning, and I have to force myself to jot down the stupid notes. Well, what was it? Janice shrugs. Dunno. Grandpa only told me the story once when he wouldn't go on a family walk in the forest. I asked him why, and he told me. I asked Grandma, too, but she just pretended she couldn't hear me. Thing is, my grandpa's not a liar, that I can promise you. I scribble in the notepad, pretending to write this all down. Oh, he also said it sounded mechanical, kind of like it was coming from through a machine or a computer. That's weird, because they didn't really have those back then. A moment of silence goes by as I wait for Janice to go on. When she doesn't, I look up. So, that's it? Oh, yeah, did you think they'd actually say something? I shrug. Anything else? Janice thinks. Well, there's this bear up at the road named Brian. One time he told me a story about seeing some aliens around here, UFOs and such. This time I can't stop my eyes from rolling, but again, Janice either doesn't see or ignores it. Said back when he was a teenager, he saw a flying saucer as he was passing by the lake. I don't even bother to move my pen, but Janice just keeps going. You know, I was listening to this podcast a while back. You know those radio shows on the internet? Oh yeah, I love listening to those when I work out. Well, there's this paranormal one I listen to that really goes in depth on this kind of stuff. And you know we've all heard the story about gold in the quartz deposit? Yep. Well, Janice lowers her voice, leaning in like she's discovered the best secret in the entire world, the best kept secret in the entire world. In the podcast, they were going on about how places with lots of quartz ends up being more haunted. You know why? I don't say anything, so TJ chimes in. Why? Well, the quartz captures stuff from the past, like real emotional, angry stuff, and sometimes when things line up just right, they play it back. Only when they do, it's all twisted up and mixed with other stuff. Makes what you see really awful and horrible looking. But you know, Janice pauses again. What? I think there's more to it than that. I think there's something with a conscious mind behind it all behind it all here in Echo. I finally have to break in. Has anything happened to you specifically? You know, it's better if I have something straight from the source rather than secondhand. Janice finally goes quiet then, eyes flicking down to look at the ground. Julian, meanwhile, has pulled off the tire and is fitting the spare in place. Well, maybe. I grip my teeth. What do you mean? Janice lets out a soft, mirthless chuckle. Let's just say I've seen things I promised not to tell anyone about, Chase. I can't tell if she's joking or not, so I just go along with it. Oh, you order a hit on someone? Maybe, Chase. TJ stands there, a mortified expression on his face. I look down at my camera bag. Well, I think it might be good to get some footage of the trees in there while they're still a little light. And if I'm gonna do the whole ghost story thing, then I better give it a horror movie vibe. Oh, well, that sounds wonderfully spooky. I start towards the tree line, then look back at TJ. You wanna come with? Oh! TJ looks back at Janice and Julian, the latter of which is screwing in the tire. Go on, TJ, give him some company in there, especially after I told you that story. Janice cackles, causing the car to shake again. Besides, I don't mind keeping Julian company in the meantime. Julian grunts as he keeps his focus on the tire. Well, okay. With that, TJ and I cross the ditch into the forest, following the little trail that weaves through the trees. As the darkness of the forest engulfs us, I look back at TJ and see him timidly moving along, looking at the trees nervously. I grin. Are you scared? TJ looks over at me with a start. Oh, He lets out a soft laugh. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I pause, waiting for the lynx to catch up to me. Then I hold out my paw to him. He stares at it for a moment, as if not comprehending what it is. I stubbornly keep it outstretched. No one's gonna see. TJ seems to think for a moment. And I see the lynx wipe his paw in his pants quickly before reaching out to take mine. I pull TJ along through the forest, glancing up occasionally to see if I can find a patch of sky sufficient enough for the shot I want. Don't worry, man. You know I saw something in there. You know I saw something in here, too? What? TJ's busy looking off into the trees, his ears perked, listening. Yep, when I was a kid, I thought I saw a fox hanging from the trees. Oh my gosh, please don't tell me this right now. I frown. Listen, what I realize is that sometimes people hallucinate things. I'd rather just not talk about it right now. All I'm saying is that the stories that Janice told us aren't real. And even if they are, those people hallucinated. That's it. Well, sure, but that doesn't mean I won't still freak out if I do see something. I squeeze the lynx's paw in mine, shaking it around a little. Well, you've got me if that happens. Heh. TJ squeezes it back. There's a slight resistance in his grasp, though, as if he's trying to pull back from me while at the same time holding on to me. Chase, have you been feeling all right? I feel fine. I stop on the path, looking up at the little patch of dusky sky above me, almost spherical and perfect for the shot that I'm going to get. Because you seem a little bit off, especially when we were at the family plex. And I know we've all been a little off since what happened. I mean, I was feeling really, really weird the past few days. I set the bag on the path, unzipping the main camera component and pulling out the camera. Maybe you're feeling the same way that I was. I shrug, turning the camera on. I feel fine, TJ. TJ suddenly places a paw on my arm, and that gives me pause. Chase, are you sure? He's looking me directly in the eye, his paw pads warming the fur on the skin under them, chasing away the chill of the evening. It's his wide blue eyes that catch my attention, though. They're sincere, kind, and full of love. It's then that I realize what TJ's trying to tell me. After all this time we've spent together over the week, getting to know each other better, talking about our future plans. It's only now that I realize. I stand up straight, facing the lynx more directly, a soft smile on my lips. TJ looks up at me, eyes looking over my face as if searching for something. I lean in and kiss him. Oh. It lasts a moment. Our lips meet, mine on his for the first time. It's a moment of pure bliss, and I close my eyes to show the lynx just how passionate I am about it. I feel his lips freeze up against mine, then suddenly they're gone. I open my eyes in time to see TJ stumbling backwards. One paw flies up to his mouth as the other stretches out behind himself, as if worried he's going to run into the trees. I guess I surprised him. I smile and follow the cat, reaching out my paws. You alright? As I reach for him, he pushes my paws away. I frown. I'm gonna pause it right here. Oh my goodness. What a faux pas. TJ really wasn't expecting that. I don't think he wanted it either. So, strike one, Chase. Or maybe strike two. We'll see. Alright, anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks or a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!